Yeggsamash, and welcome to Ask M&R Productions, episode 214, the series where I answer your questions. So, as usual, if you have a question you want to answer in next week's episode, put it in the comment section down below and leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed. Today's episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. We'll talk a little bit more about them later, but let's get into it with our first question, or more of a statement/observation from Jackson. And he says, with the immensely successful 501st Battle Pack, that cannot be overstated, LEGO should take this information and make a similar $30 set every year with a different Clone Legion and switch up the builds. Example, Wolfpack, Galactic Marine, Star Corps, etc. And Jackson, with this, I certainly agree with you. I think this was something that was brought up about a year and a half ago at this point when the set was first revealed, that it would be a good idea to do this. And of course, LEGO has taken that idea and done absolutely nothing with it. It's a real head scratcher to me. I just don't understand why they wouldn't do such a blatantly, obviously good idea, great idea at that everyone and their mother saw and was like, yeah, they could do so many of these, it would be amazing. And clearly, with as well as the 501st Battle Pack has sold, they should be, but they aren't. This idea was so popular that I remember for a period of time, for literally a month, every top post on r/LEGO Star Wars and everyone on Instagram was posting just different versions of the 501st Battle Pack with photoshopped different clone troopers, and they were getting thousands of likes on Instagram, thousands of upvotes on the Reddit, and it was just non-stop, to a point that to me it got a little bit annoying, which is weird because I really like clone troopers. And it makes it even more infuriating that the next clone battle pack that we got is the Clone Command Center, which, when you think about it, the clone battle pack that we got prior to the 501st Battle Pack was the battle pack that also had two regular Phase 1 Episode 2 clones. So, to me, they chose the least sensical thing to make as the next little battle pack for clone troopers, when you think about the fact that there's probably not going to be a gunship this summer, which would have made the most sense to go with that clone minifig pack. And on top of that, it seems like the ATTE could potentially not be episode 2. And speaking of that clone minifig pack, Sasquatch asked, did LEGO severely underestimate the demand for the clone figure pack? I ordered one in January and LEGO says it won't ship until April 20th at the least. It originally said early March, but I still have not received it. LEGO seems to severely underestimate the demand for anything that has to do with the Clone Wars. If anyone can recall, I'm sure many do, the 501st Battle Pack was out of stock for months, until probably after Christmas the year it came out. It was near impossible for many people to find. And the 501st Battle Pack, to the same point that is with this Clone Minifig Pack, that if you own more than one, you're a good-for-nothing scalper reseller who is ruining it for all the real fans out there. But it is 110% LEGO's fault for not making enough, not the fans' fault for buying something in mass that is supposed to be bought in mass. But then again, Lego.com has a limit of 3, which you can't get past, plus it's out of stock anyway. And it's also worth noting that the Hoth Rebel minifig pack has been back in stock on Lego.com for at least a week. I saw it in stock a week ago. I checked again yesterday and it was still in stock. So clearly they seem to think that more people want this Hoth minifig pack with these random Rebel troopers than they want this clone minifig pack. I guess we should count our blessings, because they could just outright retire it like they did with the 501st Battle Pack in Australia after 2 months. So I mean, it could always be worse. Red5 says, are there any sets that you think having either spring-loaded shooters or stud shooters adds to the look of the set? I think, as a generality, they do not. However, specifically with TIE Fighters, I think they do. I think just the way that the TIE Fighters have their little laser cannons on the bottom, on the front, right under the windshield cockpit area, and then the spring-loaded shooters just add this nice dash of color to an otherwise black and gray set where they shoot out that colorful laser. It just works, and it's one of the few sets where it does just work. And I'm going to hand it over to me in a white shirt and no glasses to talk about today's sponsor, Surfshark. Not to be confused with the Lego Shark, which is made of plastic. Surfshark is a VPN, or virtual private network, that protects your data when you are browsing online and allows you to watch content from all around the world. Their app and browser extension make it super easy to switch your device's IP address to different countries, unlocking tons of movies and TV shows that your local Netflix or Disney Plus doesn't have. I'm long overdue for an Office rewatch, especially with the Lego set coming out in the next year or two. And luckily with Surfshark, I can just swap over my location on Netflix to the United Kingdom and binge it all. Asterisk, the last 2 seasons not included in all of The Office. They offer 24/7 support via live chat, email, or their social media accounts to help keep you connected and protected on the internet. You can use my code M&R, that's MAndR, to get Surfshark for 83% off and an extra 3 months for free. Wes says, hey Ryan, I'm 6'4" and love to collect Legos, and because of my height, I get a whole lot of weird looks while buying them. My question is, how tall are you, and has your height and or not looking like a kid ever earned you a weird glance from others? I'm gonna be honest, I don't pay attention to what other people around me are staring at me or not. So I don't quite understand the I get weird looks thing. Like, are people like dropping their glasses and like giving you the stank eye? Like, I just don't quite understand that whole vibe. Like, what defines a weird look? Like, does someone just like, oh, that guy's buying Lego? Like, I don't, it's not something I quite connect with, but the reality is most people that buy Lego are adults anyway because they're buying them for their kids, and like, I can't imagine they get weird looks. Like, adults are in the toy aisles all the time buying things, like as a kid's birthday present or whatever. So I do find it odd that you would get a weird look buying anything for that matter, because people buy things for other people all the time. It's just not an abnormal thing. And even so, like, I think Lego is very much in the last 2 or 3 years become a cultural norm for like adults and teenagers to be able to collect and buy, which is really good for people like me who've done it their whole life and was always used to it. It's just nice to see a wider acceptance, I guess, but it was never something that I felt pressured by. The usual advice is to just ignore it though. Like, there's nothing you can do about it if people are giving you weird looks, or if you think they're giving you weird looks. Like, you're gonna be fine. At the end of the day, they're people you will never meet. They're people you don't know. It doesn't matter what they think, and I think that's the best way to look at it. The other thing I wanted to mention with your question, though, is recently NBA player from the Pacers, Miles Turner, he posted a TikTok video showing off his Lego collection, which was pretty funny. And like, you think you get weird looks at 6'4", he's probably like 6'9" or 10, and he imagine the looks he gets, like, and he's very recognizable. NBA player buying Legos, but then again, I think it was like one of the most upvoted posts on r/NBA, and people loved it, so that's always good to see. The other thing is, I met at Brick Fair, Alabama this year. He plays for the G League Pelicans team, Zach Hankins. He's 6'11". He probably just gets looks because he's so tall. I feel like you're fine, and you're probably just overthinking it. Like, people are probably, you know, like I do in a store, you just like, oh, there's a person, I'm just gonna glance at them real quick, and then if they like glance towards you, glance away, and they're like, man, that guy was staring at me. It's like, no, it's just like, there's a guy there. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people hyper focus on what other people think of them, and that's just a very normal human reaction. But honestly, you gotta find a way to let it go. I don't know how that is for you, but it's just not as big a deal as I think you might think it is. Pizza Plat TV says, do you think the ATTE rumor is true? Will it include Bad Batch minifigures? I do think the ATTE rumor is true. I think it's unlikely that it includes Bad Batch minifigures. And by unlikely with Bad Batch minifigs, I mean like a 25% chance. There's a 25% chance it includes Bad Batch figures. I think there's also an equally good chance it includes episode 2 figures. I think there's also a really good chance it's episode 3 figures based on Utapau, but there's also a good chance that it includes figures based off season 7 of the Clone Wars. And so I'm actually in the coming week going to release a video with all of my ATTE summer 2022 concepts, because there's like 6 or 7 really good ones that could be the set. And so as of now, obviously anyone's guess is as good as mine, but in my heart of hearts, I really want it and hope it would be a season 7 Clone Wars ATTE with Phase 2 Rex and Phase 2 Cody and Anakin and Obi-Wan and a couple of, 212th troopers. And like, if that's the set, I mean, doesn't that make you want to cry? But we know Lego. Prepare to be disappointed. Lewis says, are Republic Bricks builds worth the money? I love the look of them, but I'm divided on spending so much on one set. I think custom builds in general are a very tough thing for people to swallow. It's definitely for like another echelon of collecting or like of fandom of Lego. Like, there's, dipping your toes with cheap $20, $30 sets. That's how most people start, right? And then you go full hog in with $200 UCS sets, and you get the big $800 ones, and then all of a sudden you're eyeballing custom ones, and it definitely happens to a lot of people. And it's gonna vary from person to person whether or not it's worth the money. I think very much from set to set with Republic Bricks, especially. I have a video coming out this week. I think the UCS Venator he sells is excellent for $700. It's definitely a worthy option if you're looking to get a UCS style Venator, as Lego obviously doesn't sell one. But on the flip side, he now sells like a $300 playset Venator, and I just don't think that one's worth it at all. Like, that one just doesn't really bring anything to the table that I think is worth the $300. And so it's definitely going to depend on which set you're looking at. I make my reviews to present the sets as they come to me to help you hopefully make an informed purchasing decision. I can't make that decision for you. I don't know your financial situation. I don't know your collecting situation, but at the end of the day, it is absolutely going to vary from person to person, from set to set, what is worth it and what isn't. Leo with a classic bait question. I get these so often, and every once in a while, I take the bait, hook, line, and have to take it. So he says, what was your least favorite part of LAN? There's a lot of things I did not like about the LEGO Ambassador Network, and I'm gonna kind of hold back here because I would like to have a somewhat good relationship with LEGO one day, and with that being said, one of my least favorite parts of LAN was the relationship with LEGO, or lack thereof, because I didn't feel like there was one. So the first thing that'll happen when you get in the LEGO Ambassador Network, essentially, is like you get set up with a person, a mentor, essentially, who is supposed to like show you the ropes. Like, this is the forums, these are the pages, this is what you do. However, this is a person that doesn't work for LEGO. LEGO is taking someone that's already been in the LEGO Ambassador Network for like a year or whatever, and they might be a good person. In my case, he was. Like, it's not a knock against the people I met. It's a knock against LEGO's system, which does not help someone like me create a relationship with a company that should have a relationship with that company. It's just really ridiculous. And so when you're me and your expectation is to come in and be, buddy-buddy with LEGO, and you can help get over some humps that might exist from your past that definitely needed to be gotten over, that never were gotten over. You come in and then you're talking to Bob, and it's like, well, Bob is great, but Bob doesn't help me do what needs to be done. It was just something I thought of the other day. It's like, you get in the LEGO Ambassador Network, and the first thing you do, you don't get a 1 hour call with LEGO, you get a 1 hour call with someone who is also in the LEGO community, which is something that I have done consistently for the last decade. I talk with people in the LEGO community all the time. One of the things I used to do all summer was just Skype, just random LEGO community people. We would just Skype and hang out, and it was the best time. But when you are LEGO and you're trying to build relationships with content creators, having someone else that isn't part of your company do it for you, and someone that has no power to make decisions, someone that has nothing to do with what you want to get accomplished in the LEGO Ambassador Network or with LEGO as a company. I didn't really care for the concept of LAN and forums and talking with other community people there that, were deemed worthy to be there, as I feel like I already connect with and talk with enough of the community that I want and have time for. Just having no, relationship with LEGO outside of like a few messages and emails from time to time, like, it's just completely lacking. It's just not there. So that's my least favorite part of it. And if I were to ever work with LEGO again, that is what has to absolutely change. You have to have someone that can actually be there from the beginning and talk to you. Just wasn't there. The extent of the relationship at the end of it ended up being that we would actually talk somewhat frequently every few weeks, but it would only ever be when I did a bad thing. It was, if I said I was going to recommend fake Legos, they'd be really upset about that, which I never did because obviously my morals are still in the place of fake Lego is bad, but I was really upset at Lego, so I was like, man, I should just recommend fake Lego because I knew that would be a bad thing for them. Obviously, maybe not the right thing to do, but when you don't have a working relationship with someone because from the very beginning you haven't, that is where it ends up. GW Svensson says, as an aged enthusiast, kind of like that term, he says, I'm curious about your thoughts regarding the whole Lego investing trend. It reminds me too much of the baseball card trend of the 90s, back when I was a kid. Adults ruin these things for kids. The cards I bought up as a kid are now nearly worthless. Is Lego heading in the same direction? So I'll kind of work backwards with this one. It might be important to know, if you guys don't know, a lot of my answers for these types of things are off the cuff, so I don't do a ton of research into like, is Lego heading the direction, and then comparing amongst other spaces that have, gone kerplunk like Beanie Babies. But I just don't think so. Lego seems to be something that throughout its entire history has held its value very well, and that's like one of the things of it. It's how nicely it holds up over time as far as the quality of the item. I think that licensing goes a long way with this type of stuff. Now, it's definitely possible that certain Lego themes could go, the way of the dodo bird and then just, fall out of popularity, kind of like how certain baseball players maybe would, I guess the reason I can't come up with a good one is because I wouldn't remember them, but I was going to be like Ted Williams, but like Ted Williams is obviously still a very popular like baseball card, I'm sure, or Babe Ruth, the forgotten names of baseball. But do adults ruin these things for kids? No, kids can still enjoy Lego sets the same way they've always enjoyed Lego sets, by playing with them in imaginative ways. I just don't see how that has changed. In fact, I think Lego sets are better than ever for that sort of thing, helped in part by the influx of money that Lego is getting from adult collectors and teenage collectors that want to buy and enjoy their product too. They've been able to expand their product portfolio to include adult geared 18 plus sets, which, you know, might be good for kids, might not be. It shouldn't really matter because it's a product for entirely someone else. But, you know, what about the kids? Well, the kids have plenty of Lego sets still to choose from. I promise there's enough. And as far as my thoughts regarding the whole investing trend, I think it's really interesting. I've kind of avoided making a ton of videos on, like, is investing in Lego good? Should you guys be doing it? What's good to invest in? Like, I get the questions a lot, but I tend to try not to answer them because it's not something I find myself super interested in. But I do find it really annoying. Like, I keep seeing the stupid, like, Lego is a better investment than gold articles, and you see the news stories. I'm sure everyone's seen at least a couple, and they have been happening for like a decade, and everyone just keeps shoving it down your throat, and it's really annoying. Cryptocurrency is a better investment than gold. I'm sure the housing market is a better investment than gold right now. There are a lot of PS5s might be a better investment than gold. Like, there's a lot of things that are better investments than gold. And so I find that just to be the most annoying thing as someone who has always been ingrained in Lego, seeing someone like in a news agency position that writes articles about everything, you know, be like, oh, Lego, that's a better investment than gold. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to write how one Lego set is now worth $2,000. Like, that kind of rubs me the wrong way because it's someone who clearly it's just their job to write random articles about random things. Whatever, doesn't really affect me. It's just the thing that I find annoying about it. I think the idea that people investing in Lego sets ruin it is kind of a double-edged sword. I think, especially as someone who's made videos about it in the negative connotation, which I've now privated because I no longer quite hold the same opinion. Yes, people are investing in Lego. Yes, it takes away from currently available retail sets, but then again, Lego produces 100,000 of every set or something. Like, there's plenty for you to get 1 or 5 or 10 if that's what you desire. I promise. It is not because one person bought 100 that you can't buy one. Except with, like, the Nebulon B frigate where there was only 5,000 and Lego let someone buy 1,000 of them. That was Lego's fault, and screw them for that because they never did anything to make that right or apologize to the community about that, so that was awesome. But the point of it being a double-edged sword is if you have all of these people investing in Lego and you have all of these people doing Bricklink and parting out sets and selling the parts, it brings the price down of everything. The reason that a Cloud City Boba Fett or a 2000, it's not back there anymore, a 2005 Clone Turbo Tank or the original Clone Battle Packs, a lot of these things are only so expensive. Not to say that they wouldn't still be expensive, but they would be less expensive if more people 10, 15 years ago had, in a way, invested in them or bought them thinking maybe later I can sell them for some money. And yes, they would still be able to sell them later for some money, but maybe not quite as much as they are selling for today, if that makes sense. Because if you have more supply, so let's say the demand is equal to what it is today, but the supply is just increased, the price drops. That's just what it is. And so with greater supply of people investing in Lego sets going down the road, the prices of Lego sets as they age won't be as drastically increased. And I think that generally is a good thing for people that might get into the hobby later on. They won't have to pay as exorbitant prices for retired sets. I guess the point is, like, when I was 9 or 10 years old and bought a $100 Lego set, I didn't buy it, you know, hoping that in 10 years it would be worth $300 or, you know, like, I don't think that because something is valueless 10 years from now, it ruins it for kids now, because it doesn't. It just ruins it for you as a 20-year-old coming to the realization that 10 years ago this was worth money, but now it's not. But, like, that's, I don't know how that's anyone's problem. That just happens sometimes, I guess. But thank you for the question. This is one of those questions where I really, like, I'm like, man, I wish I could just have a conversation with this person because I think it would be a lot easier than, like, the question where, like, there's a lot of ambiguity in there and, like, it's only 2 sentences or whatever. And, like, you know, there's a lot open for interpretation as to what you mean. So I appreciate the question, and hopefully I gave you a reasonably good answer because I spent, like, 15 minutes talking about it. I probably cut it down to like 3 minutes, but yeah. Verified Jedi Bob says, do you have plans to go on the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser / do you want to go? Also would love to hear your ideas on the whole thing. So thank you for the question. So let's go through 3 levels of would I do this. Would I do it if I had to pay $5,000? Would I do it if I was just allowed to do it for free? And would I do it if they paid me $5,000 to do it? So let's go through each. So would I do it if I had to pay $5,000? The answer for myself, and apparently for many, many others, as it should be, is no, because it is a terrible experience for $5,000. It is of, like, just random Star Wars made-up crap. A lot of people, when they saw the first trailer thing for it, were like, this is like Star Trek, and I don't know anything about Star Trek, but sure, maybe it is, and it just does not look like a generally good time for $5,000. Like, I don't know who you're selling this Star Wars experience to that's gonna pay $5,000. Like, if it is the Empire, and you're on a Star Destroyer for the weekend, dude, sign me up. That is dope. If there are stormtroopers and Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin, like all of these things are there, I'm in, because these are things I know. But when you just make up a bunch of stuff and then expect someone to pay $5,000 for it, it's just absurd. And the other thing with the Star Cruiser Hotel, whatever it is that it appears it's like an interactive theater type of idea. So you have to like interact with the characters for the whole thing to work. And I am definitely somewhat introverted. I know the YouTube videos may present differently, and certainly at conventions I love hanging out with people, whatever. But I am definitely not one to go out of the way to interact with complete strangers. And so having to like interact with these people in costumes, just not my vibe. So I would not do it for the current price, which I think is like $5,000. I also wouldn't do it if they let me go for free. And I don't think I would do it for I know people are going to be like, Ryan, you're being absurd. I really don't think I would do it if they paid me to do it either. I really despise it, and I really despise the idea of having to be there for 2 days. I don't want to be there. It seems like a bad time for my personal taste of something. If you're a super big extrovert, you might enjoy it, but like, it does not seem like a genuinely good time for me personally. So I think I would just turn it down, unless it was, if it was $25,000, sign me up. I'll say whatever you want for, the right price. But, for like a few grand, I would just have to turn that down. The internal embarrassment of doing that would not be worth it for me. Benjamin says, gotta ask again, since everyone asks every week, do you think there will be a Jango Fett Slave 1? I don't know. Maybe. Not really. Stop Motion Brick says, do you think the LEGO 75082 Inquisitor minifigure is worth investing in? If you're asking that question now, it's already too late. That figure is already worth well over $100. Obviously, it's going to show up in Kenobi, and maybe the value will spike again when it shows up officially in the show, but since we've already seen it in the trailer, I feel like everyone that's going to want one has already bought one or is trying to buy one, and that's why the value has already spiked so much. So no, I would not invest in that minifigure. I also think there's a really good chance LEGO will release a new version of it in the summer wave in one of the 2 rumored Kenobi sets, either the $50 one or the $100 one. I really think the $100 one is going to end up being the Kenobi Inquisitor ship that we see in the trailer and in the art. So I think that Inquisitor could very well end up being in that set, and therefore, why would you invest in something that LEGO's going to make in 6 months? Anyway, guys, I got to run to go play basketball, so if you guys enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button. You can check out today's sponsor with the link in the description below, Surfshark. Thank you to them. And if you have a question for next week's episode, leave it in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.